My name's Tony Stevens. I wasn't quite around the last time that there were more electric vehicles on the road than petrol, but I've been in the motor industry for more than 50 years, basically responsible for everything you can imagine, but creating new products on a global scale. My interest is mass production. And quite a while back, I set out to create my own company. And we went to a motor show, we demonstrated a product that was the rave of the show, the press loved it, went into the city, said we want to do this thing seriously, and nothing. Japanese, who spent all the show crawling all over the stand, went home, copied it. It's still in production. So far they've made just over 1 million. Now, if you either roll over or you get pissed off. And the answer was, we have to get rid of the billion-dollar note. To create a new car, put a new car into existence in volume, for volume, the world volume, is $1 billion. That's $500 million for development and $500 million for tooling. We got to get rid of that. So I started a research program 20-odd years back, and that was the prime object, get rid of that. The start of this project was basically to get rid of the billion-dollar note. But in order to do it, what we had to do was go right back to basics, actually clear the deck, clean sheet of paper, start again, ultra simplicity. We have, for instance, in the body and chassis of the vehicle, we've reduced the parts count now by 90% compared with a conventional motor car. And so we've gone back in simplicity, saying everything's getting too complex. At the moment, the manufacturing of a vehicle, a family saloon, the manufacturing produces more pollution than comes out of the tailpipe in its whole lifetime. We're talking about 7-odd tons of CO2 manufacturing pollution, plus a mass of toxins into the atmosphere. So any reduction of that, by going simplicity, going right back to basics, we reduce the manufacturing pollution and energy used dramatically. Okay, so pics, please. So over these years, we have created this alternative way of creating a new motor industry, serious motor industry, not messing around with small numbers, serious, big stuff. The pictures actually don't go with the story, really, except that's showing that I've been around for a long time. Will that make it go forward? Yes. I mean, basically, the $1 billion is all these sort of massive acres of robots and presses that cost £1 million a time. It's a colossal investment. So by being British and going back to basics, we've eliminated that lot. And we've kept very low, we've kept under the radar, very quiet. What we wanted to do was to create a total range of vehicles before we actually came up above the radar. It started off as being an alternative way of making cars for the West, but involvement with China many years back, I got involved in saying, well, okay, what we're actually creating here is the ability for a new global people's car. And our models, I suppose, are the old Citroën 2CV and the original Beetle. Which both went on for more than 50 years and were produced many, many millions. I'm just going to run through various. The pics are unconnected with the words. It's just a range of vehicles that we've developed. And the basic, really, to get anywhere in the world. Now, what comes out of this simplicity is that we have created new design and manufacturing disciplines, and the whole thing's about discipline. The motor industry at the moment is undisciplined. Every problem is solved by a more complex solution. More complex is more energy in production, more toxins, more rubbish. Simplicity is the answer to the thing. We're not particularly interested in any sort of driveline. We're vehicle makers. You produce us a widget that will run on water and it will save the world. We can put it into production because of our structure faster, cheaper than anybody else. Now, to go with this, we really need a new business structure. And we end up with something which it looks more like IKEA, probably, although hopefully things are easier to make than out of an IKEA box. So what we're doing, UK is the best place in the world for R&D. Creative centre of the world in automotive, anyhow, is here. So R&D here, but buy on a global basis, global competitive basis. If India is cheaper than China, Malaysia produces tyres cheaper, whatever, buy on a global basis, as the motor industry always has. Bring together in a central warehouse somewhere in the world, wherever is convenient to the centre of gravity of the supply. The vehicles are then assembled and sold and serviced and all the rest of it by locally owned businesses in territories all around the world. Now, we've heard a similar package earlier on. My background is the global motor industry. I'm used to dealing with more than 120 countries around the world. I know how to do this. What that does is that it brings local involvement, brings local work, and instead of using poor people as cheap labour, we actually give them an involvement. So that's the environmental side is that regardless of powertrain, we will be cleaner than anybody else in the game. And in terms of ethical things, we are bringing work where it's really needed and involvement where it's really needed. I ought to go through those a bit more, oughtn't I? Holiday centre. Where we are now, we've got all our vehicles engineered through, and they're ready to go forward in electric form. Now, I guess in about 12 months' time we shall have a hybrid form, if people want a hybrid. My hope is, 2 minutes, thank you. My hope is that the ultimate battery will turn up, and I'll tell you what that is. It's 20 or 30 kilowatt hours. It weighs less than 100 kilograms, and it costs about 500 euros. That's the target for the battery markets. Then we've got a serious electric vehicle business. But we will go on with whatever powertrains are suitable. We're looking for £10 million to take us into this sort of, it's the structural style. So we've done the bit that cost 500 million. We've eliminated the second 500 million. We now want to put it into practice. We believe, being very conservative, that will give cash dividend returns over a 5-year period of at least 600%, and the capital appreciation will be nearer 4,000%. Thank you very much indeed. The theoretical checkbooks and the real checkbooks out there. Thank you very much. And who's first? Yes, sir.
How would you get an industry which has so much capital expenditure invested to switch?
We don't want it to switch. I'm not interested in tying up with Ford or anybody else.
Right.
They have, people ask us, won't the others copy you? Well, if you're sitting there with £1 billion worth of investment, which if you copy us you throw away, they're not going to do it easily. Also, in the history of the motor industry, there have only so far been 2 major changes. One was Henry Ford producing, production line, and the second one was 50-odd years ago, the change to monocoque construction. And that's it. In the whole history of the motor industry, 2 major changes. We think it's time for another one.
Where do you see as your major markets? Where would people be able to afford these cars, and what's the kind of, presumably it's a very low price point to make them kind of mass market and affordable?
Well, because we'll be buying on a global basis and a serious volume, yes, I mean the price should be very low. Whether we'll get down to the 1 lakh nano Tata in India, I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. We should do actually, because our material content and basic material costs are about the same as a nano, and our production costs will be less. The other thing is, if they want to do a facelift on the Nano, it'll cost them 100 million. For us, it costs us about 100,000.
The bit I'm not clear on, if I may, is for a start, you actually mentioned my favourite car, which is a 2CV. It's a great car.
That positions you then.
Yeah, it does a bit. Yeah. But I'm a bit puzzled about, or not clear on, where you're going to get your first commercial deal. And who is it? I mean, I understand that you're not going to talk to General Motors, perhaps, or Ford, or...
No, we are the OEM.
Right.
We don't need anybody else.
So what car are you going to produce?
These are ours. We own everything.
So you've got a double problem. One, you've got a problem of manufacturing, and two, you've got a problem of getting a new type of car into the marketplace.
No.
No? So you can see I'm not clever.
If you turn up with something which is glitzy and very stylish, the intention here absolutely was to produce a non-style range of vehicles.
Okay.
Our object is to run for 25 years without changing anything significant.
Okay.
Facelifts are very bad for customers. Okay. 2 minutes. No, if you insist. No. I'll give you an example, which I shall have to shoot you afterwards. But we've stayed very low.
I'll go with my TCV.
We've stayed under the radar deliberately until we got the whole package ready to run.
Okay.
Because I hate going, the idea, come out, say, I've got this grand new thing, and then fall.
Yeah.
Okay. One guy who found out about us, there have been a few around the world, but it's a guy in Peru, Lima. Okay? It's a long way away, so he won't hear. He runs a general engineering business, so he's got engineering skills. It's not automotive, but to do this, it doesn't need to be automotive. He's extremely keen, particularly on electric vehicles, and he has gone out into the streets of Lima, particularly the taxi brigade. And whereas I'd got in our plan that Lima would sell, well, by year 5 it would only get up to about 1,500 vehicles a year. He said, I've been and talked to the taxi drivers, shown them what you've got. We'll do 2,000 in the first year, 18,000 in the second year. Now, even if he's been wildly optimistic, our figures are clearly wildly pessimistic. But each country, because we've got such a broad range, we slot in everywhere. Okay? Here, we've got the pickups and the vans, which are perfect for, public authorities, parks and gardens, that sort of thing. Back to a base. Lovely. Am I out of time?
You talk more about the simplicity and discipline in manufacturing approach.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically gone back to basics and saying, what do we need to make this work? What we've been doing is there are a few tricky bits where we are using materials in unusual ways. In other words, there are certain plastics which we are using structural and non-structural applications all in one piece. So we are using plastic certainly in a different way from normal. It's just thinking simple. For instance, there are shapely vehicles, but it's all flat glass. The intention was that we can get flat glass, laminated to the screen, toughened to the rest, made anywhere in the world. So we don't get held to ransom anywhere. There's no heavy tooling, no low profile, stupid tires or anything like that. It's all sensible, down-to-earth stuff.
That's time.
It's quite enough, was it? Good